My name's Paul Cleary, the managing partner of Horn IT. I wanted to talk to you today about our rapid QS security assessment. We have been performing a lot of rapid security assessments lately for a number of technology companies across North America. And I want to outline what its process looks like and why you might be interested in doing it. Basically, the goal of our rapid assessment is to quickly assess your cybersecurity posture based on the CIS top 20 controls, and then to develop a plan for improving that posture to a level that we can all agree is appropriate for the industry that you're in. The CIS top 20 controls are a set of approximately 171 technical controls broken down into 20 different categories, and they represent the best practices in securing any organization's IT infrastructure. And so we use this because these controls map onto any kind of compliance regime one of our clients might need to adhere to, whether it's NIST or ISO or whatever. Basically, these are technical controls that will fit into any of those compliance regimes. So they give you a very good baseline of where you stand as far as your security is concerned. The deliverables of our assessment are a scoring of your security posture against the controls. So we go through and we identify which controls are appropriate for your organization. Usually with tech companies, we find there's somewhere between 145 and 160 of the 171 controls are appropriate. And then we determine which ones you have implemented, which ones you have partially implemented, and which ones you don't have implemented at all. We score 1 for if you're implemented, 0.5 if it's partially implemented, and 0 if it's not implemented at all. That allows us to develop an actual percentage score. So you are 45% implemented for the appropriate controls. It gives you a baseline score, a real metric that you can use to determine where you stand as far as your cybersecurity is concerned. We then take that and we identify any gaps in your controls, and we put those into a priority order. So in other words, what controls have you not implemented? Which ones are the most important and or the fastest and easiest for you to implement? We identify those for you. We then develop a high-level project plan, complete with timelines and the required resources for implementing those missing controls. The whole quick assessment takes approximately 1 to 2 weeks to complete. So it's designed to be very rapid and give you a useful, a clear operational approach to improving your cybersecurity. What do we look at? Well, the scope of these assessments are basically broken down into 3 different categories. The first category is your internal corporate environment. That's basically looks at your end users, their laptops, desktops, and phones, what they're using, whether they're working remotely, as many people are doing right now, or whether they're working in the office. We also look at any internal corporate networks, what firewalls you have in place, what servers you have there, what Wi-Fi you have going on there, any kind of printers, all of that kind of stuff. We look at any devices you have, any access into your network from outside and from inside your network out to anywhere else. So third parties may be connecting into your environment to provide you with services like telephony or security or anything like that. You may be reaching out too for cloud services using something like Box, or maybe it's some kind of ERP system in the cloud, anything like that. So that's your internal corporate environment. If you are a tech company and you are providing services to your clients through some kind of cloud hosted or SaaS infrastructure, we take a look at that and how you provide those services and how you protect that cloud hosted environment and keep it secure. And then finally, client connections. Do you connect into your clients to do any of the services that you provide? And if so, how do you do that? And how do you make sure that your connection is secure into them? I know that it seems like the client should be responsible for that, but if an infection came into their environment through you, it would still impact your reputation. So it's important that you understand those connections. What is our process? Well, it's pretty straightforward and it's designed to be very efficient. We start off with a kickoff meeting in which we introduce the team to you, we introduce the process and get everybody on the team, on your team, to understand the process, and then we work on scheduling. And usually we are scheduling basically a few meetings over the period of 2 weeks. We then provide you with a questionnaire with roughly 20 questions to help us understand your environment. You take that questionnaire away. It usually takes between 3 and 5 days to complete that. Then you send it back to us and we review it. And then we queue up technical meetings. These technical meetings are designed to drill into your responses on your questionnaire and basically make sure we understand what your responses are and how you are actually taking care of security in your environment. It may also involve logging on and looking at your environment, whether that's into your Active Directory on premises, or it may involve logging into your G Suite or any kind of cloud environment and just looking at your security setups for that. It may also involve running technical scanning software in your environment to see what we can see. This technical software is passive, it doesn't impact anything, but it gives us much good information. Our meetings, our drill down sessions may be broken up into anywhere from 1 to 3 meetings. And we will deal with the corporate network first, the cloud environment second, and then your client connections third. From there, we take away all this information we got and we score you against the CIS top 20. We try to identify any gaps you have in the security controls that are appropriate for your organization. We then take those gaps and we develop an implementation plan for filling them. We look at them and we put them into priority order, but we also sometimes put them into ease of implementation order. In other words, if there's low-hanging fruit that you could implement really quickly, quick wins if you like, then we'll put them towards the start. We then take this plan, the scoring that we've done and the plan that we've developed, and we present it to you so that you have a chance to review your score with us, make sure that we got everything correct in our assessment of your security, and review the plan that we've developed to make sure that it aligns with your strategic initiatives for the next little while. Our plans are usually broken down into the first 90 days and the next 90 days, so about a 180-day plan. We then look at it from a scheduling point of view and try and put actual dates as much as possible to the plan so that you have a clear timeline built out. And then we assign those resources to it. These resources can be internal resources, members of your team, external resources. So maybe you have some IT consultants who come in and do work for you, or an MSP, or maybe it's us. Maybe you need help with some of the things that we're suggesting, and we can give you that help. There are also resources like tools, applications that you might need to implement, and we will identify those and try and help you to budget for those things. So we take this draft plan, we get all this information together, we once again take this away and we build it into a final formal plan and presentation that you can present to your stakeholders, whether it's your management team, whether it's other senior members of your organization, board members, whoever it might be that you need to present. So this becomes your plan. It becomes your presentation that you can use for whatever you need it for. The CIS top 20 controls that we use. This framework is a great framework for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's very technical in nature, so it's very specific to making your environment secure. However, it also maps really effectively to most compliance regimes. So if you're under ISO or PCI or HIPAA or NIST, it doesn't matter. These controls map onto those that compliance regime. So any work you do here is useful for any compliance regime you might need to work with down the road. The CIS controls are broken down. As I said, there are about 171 of these controls, but they're broken down into 20 groupings, and those are broken down into 3 categories. The basic category These are key controls that should be implemented by every organization for essential cyber defense readiness. Basically, they are just good hygiene controls. Foundational controls, these are a bit up, they're technical best practices, and they provide clear security benefits. They're a smart move for any organization to implement. And then the final control group are organizational. These controls are different in character from 1 to 16. They have technical elements, but they're really more about people and the processes involved. If you look at these controls, basically we're looking at things like inventory and control of hardware assets, software assets, continuous vulnerability management, controlled use of administrative privileges, secure configurations of hardware and software, of devices, maintenance and monitoring of audit logs. So those are the basic controls. The foundational are things like email and web browser protections, malware defenses, the limitation and control of network ports, protocols, and services, your data recovery capabilities and disaster recovery planning, your secure configuration for network devices, such as firewalls, routers, and switches, your boundary defenses. So this can be firewalls and gateways. How do you defend those boundaries, both incoming and outgoing traffic? Your data protections. Do you know what your sensitive data is, where it is, and how do you protect it? Do you encrypt it? Do you have data loss prevention to make sure it doesn't get moved out of your organization, et cetera, et cetera. Controlled access based on need to know. How do you control the access to data in your environment? Wireless controls. Now, this is one that has been a little less relevant to people these days because many people aren't in their offices, but we will return. So it's important that, that you take a look at this. And then finally, account monitoring and control. Do you know what accounts you have created to access your environment, and do you monitor that in any way? The organizational controls are things like implementing security awareness and training programs for your people so that they know how to stay secure and what their obligations in doing that are. If you develop software, how do you do application software security? Do you have secure coding practices? Do you test your code to make sure it's secure? And do you train your developers in secure practices? Incident response and management. If you were to have a cybersecurity incident, how would you respond to that? How would you manage it? Who would be responsible for what? And how would you communicate that to your stakeholders? And then finally, penetration testing. Do you do penetration testing on your environment, both your corporate environment and your hosted environments? What type of penetration testing do you do? Is it just external testing? Is it both external and internal? If you develop software, do you do also application penetration testing? Those are the CIS top 20 controls. If you have those well implemented, and we usually aim for about 80% of the controls that are appropriate for your organization, then you will be secure and you will be compliant to any compliance regime you might have. If you'd like more information about our rapid QS security assessments, feel free to reach out to me at pcleary@horn-it.com or call us at 416-421-1085 extension 1. Thank you.